We're here this morning, we're talking about a story in the Bible. The Bible is true from cover to cover. But in this story, there's three young men named Shadrack, Meshack, and Abendigo. Now, they're men who love God, and they were taken from their homeland, and they were in Babylon there. And one thing that happened was that King Nebuchadnezzar had a statue built, and all the men were supposed and women were supposed to bow down to it. But Shadrach, Meshack, and Abendigo, they were three young men who believed in the living God, and the living God alone, because He is the only true God. And so, how the story goes there is that because they would not bow down to the king, they were told that they were going to be thrown into the fire. So the king Nebuchadnezzar said, heat the furnace 7 times hotter than normal, and let's throw them in there alive. And so that's what they did. But as the servants of the king Nebuchadnezzar came there, they threw them into the furnace. The furnace burned up even the guards who threw these men into the fire, into the furnace there. However, Shadrach, Meshack, and Abendigo were not affected at all by the fire. And so as they were in the fiery furnace there, Nebuchadnezzar the king said, listen, didn't I throw 3 men in the fire? Do you see 3 men in the fire there in our representation of the fire? There's 3 in there. But the king Nebuchadnezzar said, wait a minute. I see 4. Who is the 4th one there? Can you see there's 4 in there? It was actually the Son of God, yes. Like the Son of God. It was a representation of God there in the fire. And so the king said, holler, Shadrach, Meshack, and Abendigo, come out. And they came out of the fire, and there was not even 1 hair singed. The bottom line is that we must always obey God. A lot of times you hear me talking about that. The most important thing is put your faith and trust in the living God. And you see, Shadrach and Meshack and Abendigo, they had heard about God. They believed in God. They'd seen how many times God had been with the children of Israel and delivered them from the Egyptians and all these different things. And they'd seen how God was with King David and how God took care of him and how God gave him victory over the giant, and all these different stories in the Bible of the saints of the Lord had been through. And they believed in God. And they even said, even if God doesn't come to our rescue, we're still not going to bow down because we serve the living God. That's having faith. Faith is in believing what you cannot see. So the most important thing is to remember to obey God, believe in God, and He will see you through. These young men, no matter the trials and the circumstances that they came up against, obeyed God. And God gave them victory. They came out of the fire. They came out of the storm. And you and I have many storms in life, but the most important thing is to trust God, be obedient in our walk with God, don't compromise in any way, and God will give you the victory. God never lets His children down. He always stands for them. He always fights for them when they're obedient.